So what is racism? To be honest, it's not an easy thing to define. There's lots of people with lots of definitions and lots of scholars writing about this around the world. And I'm going to try and use one definition to try and explain what racism is, casual racism, and unconscious bias. So to start with full-blown racism, the definition I like to use is when you take a person or a group who purposely and knowingly makes assumptions or generalizations about another person or group because of their ethnicity, with the intent to cause harm. So you need all of those components. You need that person or a group. You need that person who is making generalizations or assumptions about a victim, another person or group, because of their ethnicity. And the final part is crucial, with the intent to cause harm. Now, when we talk about casual racism, it's quite easy to find that with those components. All you have to do is remove that final part, the intention to cause harm. So in this way, casual racism isn't something that is purposely done to cause harm. We might think it's funny, we might think it's cool, we might just think this is what people do. Let me give you the classic example. An Englishman, Irishman, and Scotsman walk into the bar. An Englishman does something logical, the Irishman does something stupid, and the Scotsman does something cheap. On its own, it's a joke. We've been telling these jokes for centuries. It doesn't really make too much of a difference unless you start to be the victim of this over and over and over again. And when you hear it every day, all the time, those assumptions are made, it does start to weigh you down a bit. Another example from my life, I'm Indian, and when people find out that I'm Indian, they go, wow, you speak really good English for an Indian. On its own, it's not meant to be offensive. On its own, it's not meant to be something that is racist. But after a while, when you hear this every day, all day, sometimes you get sick of these assumptions that are made because of your ethnicity. So finally, what's unconscious bias? Well, unconscious bias is when you just take out that purposefully or knowingly part of the definition. So now you have a person or group who's making generalizations and assumptions about another person or group because of their ethnicity. They don't realize they're doing it, they don't even know what they're doing is an assumption or a generalization, and they definitely aren't doing it to cause harm because they don't even know that they're doing it. Now, when enough people have this unconscious bias and it becomes part of society, this is what can lead to institutionalized racism, when people are starting to operate and act in a way that they think is okay because it's just been the way it is for so long. Let me give you another example. A study was done recently that showed that if you have a non-European name, the likelihood of you getting a callback from your CV is significantly lower than if you had a European name. So even though you might have the same education, experience, age, gender, all those things are kept constant, just having a foreign-sounding name means that your chances of getting interviewed are significantly lower. Now, I'd like to believe that the recruiters out there are probably not purposely trying to cause harm to people with non-European names. It's probably just assumption that's been built up that if you don't have a European name, likelihood is you did not grow up in New Zealand, you might not speak English well, you might not have the local experience that you need for the role. This is an example of where those assumptions are made based on one part of your ethnicity that is just filtered through, and it does affect individuals. So, as a summary, what is racism? Racism is when you have a person or group that is purposely, knowingly making assumptions or generalizations about another person or group because of their ethnicity, and they're doing it to cause harm. If you're talking about casual racism, then you just take off the trying to do harm. That intention or motivation to do harm, you might think it's cool, you might think it's funny, you might think it's just something that everyone does. And then finally, unconscious bias is when you take away the knowingly or purposely part, and you're just making assumptions about another group or person. When enough people do that, that can lead to institutional biases and institutionalized racism. Hopefully that's been helpful. Hopefully that's broken down into different definitions. I'll talk to you next time.